All right, we are live. It is Tuesday, and we are ready for another Tuesday evening live. So you might see that we have we have a box. We also have 3 pens down here. So I'm going to give people a few minutes to show up, and then we'll get started. So if you're here already, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We will get started in just a little bit. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late today. My mic wasn't working, and then, things happen. So, but we're good now, so we should be ready to roll. So we'll just give people a couple minutes to show up, and we'll have some fun tonight. Angie, what's up? Rich, what's going on? Jim, how's it going? Has Tuesday been another Tuesday for you guys? Or has anything different happened? I can tell you that I am definitely feeling it right now. This morning, I left at about a little before 8 and didn't get back to my house until probably almost 4 o'clock. I ended up going on a 57-mile bike ride, so my legs are feeling it right now. But we'll go ahead and get started pretty soon here. We'll show off last week's Tiny Giant. We'll do a mail call, and then we'll get into the prime time. Give people another minute or two. 10 hours in front of the computer on your lunch break right now. That's good. That's good. So we'll get started in just a second here. We're going to we'll do a mail call. Then we'll look at some we'll do a mail call, and then we'll look at last week's Tiny Giant, and then we'll look at these 2 pens that we're going to refinish tonight. Todd, what's going on? Rich, you'd be dead of heat exhaustion if you did that here in Florida. LOL. It wasn't too bad, 9, 10, 11 o'clock this morning. It got to be about, 2 o'clock, and it was darn near 90. It was the last 7 to 10 miles really did me in. That was enough for me. And then they started talking about doing another 40 tomorrow, and I was like, you guys have fun with that. Okay. I do want to take a second before we get started to thank my patrons. So Mark and Angie, you guys are great. I appreciate the support. If you guys are interested in Patreon, the link is in the description. And we can, there are, I believe, 4 different tiers. So if that interests you, you can check it out. If not, no pressure. The other thing that I wanted to address real quick, it came up towards the end of last week's show that there was no super chat. There's no super chat because I can't monetize my channel yet. I don't have the watch time to do that. So That's why there's no super chat. But if you did feel inclined to just make a one-time donation, my website, cross-cut-creations.com, does have a donate button on the right-hand side there. So again, no pressure, but if that is something that interests you, that is an option. Another way to support the channel is to use the Amazon affiliate links in the description. Those are in the description as well as on my website. So if you use that link, whatever you buy using that link, it doesn't even have to be the tool that shows up. Whatever you put in your cart and purchase using that link, a small percentage of that goes back to help out the channel. Okay, Dave's Creations, what's going on? Patrick 9981, hello back. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start. We'll actually start with. We're not going to start with the mail call quite yet. We'll do that second. We'll show off the. We'll show off the blank from, or the pen rather, from last week. So here we have it. This is a diamond cast blank. I believe this one's called Smoke on the Water, but I could be wrong about that. So this is the Tiny Giant. Turned absolutely phenomenally. So there we have it. So that's last week's project. Now, yesterday I was, I went and got, well, I picked up a box, but it's still a mail call. So this is all from T-Shadow. The link is in the description for T-Shadow as well. They carry a lot of awesome tools. They are the producer of the negative rake scraper that you see me use or have seen me use in the last few videos. This tool is definitely earning its keep in my shop. I know there are others who say the same thing, but that negative rake, you can see that there's, instead of it being a just straight carbide cutter, like the original Magic SKU, where it's just straight like that, the cutter is straight, there's an angle on the negative rake edition. So two pretty cool tools. They're on the website. But now let's go ahead and get into the T-Shadow box that I have. So one of the things that I got was the disassembly vice jaws, which will actually come in handy tonight. So I've never actually used these, so we'll be kind of learning those on the fly. Another thing that came in was a smock, which I'm pretty excited about. I'll actually go ahead and put that one on now because we'll be sanding and refinishing. So that's pretty cool. I've actually been looking at smocks for a while, but just haven't pulled the trigger on those yet. These do zip all the way down, which is really nice. So then that way you don't have to worry about putting the smock over your head or anything like that. Then it just zips up. This will be nice because then hopefully I won't drag as much dust into the house, or at least upstairs. Oh, I just got that stuck. Got the zipper stuck. But I'll hopefully play with that. I'll hopefully get that in a minute. If we continue on, I got this box. And this box, if we take it apart, it says Illumify on the side, right there. And then it's a lighted LED head magnifier. And again, this is all from T-Shadow. I decided to pick up one of these because while I do like casting resin blanks, one of the types of resin blanks that I cast, and I don't cast a lot of them, but I do cast a few, are watch parts blanks. So here's what the box inside of the box looks like. It says Illumify, removable LED light, magnifies up to 10 times, adjustable headband, batteries included. So if we take this out of the box, let's see what it looks like here. Sorry guys, I'm moving a little slow tonight. That 57 miler really, it was good, but it did me in. So it comes in a bag, but then here's what the headset looks like. And then on the side here, you have your batteries. So I'll be excited to and there's the adjustable headband. I'll be able to use those when I do fine detail work in the future. So that's actually going to come in super handy. Okay, there we go. And then I got some other, just a few other small things. I got the non-stick bushings from T-Shadow. These are the CA bushings. I do already have a set of these, so I'll hold on to these until I need them. But the nice thing is with these, and I'll show you when I go to use them, they actually have a 60-degree cone in the one end, so you can actually do your CA finish and your non-stick things turn between centers. Replace some Abranet, so that'll be good. So you guys have seen me use this on the live streams before, and it's the same grits: 120, 180, 240, 320, and 400. So that's going to be pretty solid. And I also got some nylon braid. It's kind of like this expands, and it's kind of like carbon fiber, except it's not. It's similar, but it's slightly different. And then the final thing that I was able to pick up, and I'm not going to use it tonight because I've never used it before, but I did pick up Zona paper, so I am going to try that. Hopefully I'll try that off camera and before I actually do it, before I put it on camera, just so then that way I can figure out what I'm doing and we can go from there. So that'll be super exciting. All right, we're getting close to actually putting something on the lathe. Okay. Can I play Fortnite? No. Back to see what is going on. Awesome. We just finished up our mail call from T-Shadow, and we're about ready to get the main show started. Lumify should be nice when finishing. Yes, that would definitely be nice. I do have a light over here a little bit. It might be just out of camera. I can't tell right now. Yeah, it's just out of focus, or out of the shot. But I do I do have one, but that will also be good for the detail work and finish work. So the next thing that I plan on doing is I want to refinish these two pens. Now, ironically, I just realized this, but I think these were actually the same blank. So this is a Zen. This is a hybrid that I had cast. It was, I believe, box elder burl and Alumilite resin. And then This is a mini bolt action. That's the nice thing about the mini bolt actions. Even though you get a long Zen, you have a little bit left over and you can make a mini bolt action. But I don't know if that's going to show up too well, but you can actually see how the CA finish cracked. You can't necessarily see it as well on the wood, but when you look at the resin, it definitely needs some help. So we're gonna fix these two tonight. So the way we're gonna do this, I'll go ahead and start with the Zen. So I'm going to take the cap of the Zen off, and I'm going to unscrew this. Now there is a spring in the back of the Zen, so make sure you're careful when you take this these pieces out. Okay, there's the spring. So now I have to use a set of punches to take apart the pen. My pen components, I'm going to put my pen components just on my assembly table. And I have learned that a rubber mallet doesn't do the trick for me when I'm disassembling pens. The one thing that does work is just a regular hammer. That works pretty well for me. You also have to kind of be careful when you disassemble pens because some of these pieces go flying, and if they go flying and you lose them, well, you're kind of out of luck there. So I have my punches here, and I'm going to try and find one that is about the size. That's not going to... Let's go down a couple sizes. Almost. And you want this to be as tight as possible because you don't want there to be too much play. Okay, so this one fits pretty well. We're going to take our T-Shadow disassembly vice jaws. We're going to open these up and try these for the first time. So it looks like these let's see. Looks like these go in here. There we go. Now you want to be a little bit careful with these, but we are refinishing this pen, so it should be all right. This is the first time I'm using this, so we have our blank in our disassembly jaws. I'm going to hold this tight. I have my punch in here, and I'm going to kind of try and keep my pinky down below just so I hopefully don't lose the piece here. Okay, we're almost there. Just a couple more taps. Almost there. Normally I would do this on a table, but because the camera is where it is, I'm doing this over my lathe. So here's one of the other pieces, and I'm going to put that over on the assembly table just so I keep everything together. And now I'm going to flip this blank over. So we punched out this end. Now I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to find a bigger punch that is closer to the diameter of the closer to the inner diameter of the blank, and that's pretty good. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our hammer, and we're just going to carefully punch out the other end. carefully, as I said. Here's the other piece, so we're going to put that with our pen components. We're going to put our punch back where it belongs. Now we're going to take our blank out of our jaws, and it's just like a regular pen blank now. So here's what we're going to do. I'll put the punches over here. Now I'm ready to mount this blank either back on the lathe, and I am going to do this on a mandrel. Let me get my non-stick bushings. I only need 2 of them. Actually, here's what we're going to do. I'll use all 4 of them, because the process is going to be the same. So I'll actually refinish both pens at the same time, and I'll show you how I do that. So this Zen blank is ready to be refinished because it is disassembled. Now I'm going to take the other mini bolt action. I'm going to unscrew this cap piece, or this nib piece, I guess. Now there is a spring in there, so you have to be careful. You don't want to lose the spring, and you're going to take the refill out as well. And again, I'm going to put these on my assembly table. So right now it looks something like this. So we'll bring our punches back. And this one is going to be much smaller. We'll put the blank in our assembly, in our soft jaws, and then we will find a punch that is close to the diameter. Okay, so now that we have a punch that's close to the diameter there, I'm going to tap out this end here. Again, hopefully carefully. One, you don't want to lose the pieces, and 2, you don't want to damage what you already have. Sometimes these are a little stubborn. All right. We're almost there. Need to readjust. There it goes. So we have our top piece here, so that'll go over to the assembly table. Now we're going to flip this, put it into our soft jaws, and we're going to get a larger punch to go into this blank. It's close. when you're disassembling pens, you want the punch to be as snug as possible with with as little play as possible, just so you don't ruin the blank or the components any further. Sometimes it just takes a good couple solid hits. You can see that that's starting to come out, and this won't be an issue for reassembly either. There we go. We'd finally get it. So there's the other piece. So I'm going to put these pieces. There's our mini bolt action blank. I'm going to put these pieces with the other parts of the mini bolt action. We're done using our punches and our soft jaws, so we can put those away. Now when I go to put these non-stick bushings on, they have a 60-degree divot in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but what you can do, they all have them, so you can put them here, and if I go to bring my tailstock up, I could put them on the tailstock, and I could actually put each blank between centers and finish the blank that way. So that's what makes these bushings really nice. Now, because I'm doing 2 blanks tonight, I am going to use the mandrel. So I'm going to go ahead and take this dead center out. I've got my mandrel. I'm going to readjust the size that I need for the mandrel. And I'm just going to mount these blanks onto the mandrel. So there's the first one, there's the Zen, just like a pen, because it is. Now we're going to put our second bushing back to back. We're going to put our mini bolt action on, and we'll put the other bushing on here. I'll tighten this up. Actually, there we go. All right. We're getting there, guys. So now I have 2 blanks that are ready to be refinished. So I'm going to take you through my finishing process for these blanks. So here's what's going to happen. Because there's a finish on there and I'm not happy with it, I'm going to sand the finish off with 120. Then I'm going to go through my regiment of finishing. I'm going to dry sand 120 all the way up to 400. Then I'm going to wipe the blanks down with some denatured alcohol to clean the blanks. Then I'm going to go ahead and then we're going to do our CA finish after denatured alcohol. And then we can, once we CA finish, we will go ahead and micro mesh and then use the Novus polishing system. And these will be good to go again. So let's check the so let's check the chat real quick. Okay. 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 All right. I'm going to go ahead and move this camera so we get hopefully maybe a little better um, a little better shot, but I can also okay. Hopefully we'll get a better shot. I'm just going to move this over real quick. All right. I will adjust just a tad. Maybe. There we go. All right. So we'll start with 120. We'll start with 120, and I will turn the lathe up a little bit for this one, just because I'm removing the finish here. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long. Got the face shield on. We're in reverse, and we'll probably be a little north of, well, more or less around 1200. I know that's a little fast for sanding, but we're just trying to quickly remove some finish. I'll know that the finish is completely removed when I've scratched up the blanks and there's no shiny spots left. I have to do that to the Zen and the mini bolt action. Got a little bit over here. Otherwise, this is actually looking pretty good. That didn't take too long to get it back down to the raw resin and wood. And we're not trying to change the shape of this blank. We're just trying to take the finish off. So we're not doing anything super aggressive. Perfect. Now I'm going to sand with the grain just to take some of those circular scratches out of the blank. This is with the lathe off. Just makes it look a little better. And this is 120, so we still have a little ways to go, but it really should be a fairly quick process. So now that I have this blank sanded to 120, I'm going to now sand this blank back down. I'm going to sand the finish off, and then we'll be ready to move on. The mini bolt action is so tiny that it's almost hard to sand at times. That's pretty good. All right, we'll go ahead and sand again with the grain. Now that we're down to the raw blank, we will go ahead and sand with our Abranet. So we have 120, which is what we already sanded with, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time there. But we do have 120 to 400. So let's go ahead and do that. Now for this, I am going to turn the speed down on the lathe. I'm still sanding in reverse. So I'm south of 500 RPMs right now, which isn't too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this blank just a little bit. And knowing that we're refinishing these blanks, I'm not necessarily trying to take a whole lot off. I'm just trying to smooth out these blanks. I'm not trying to actually change the shape. When you sand, you want to make sure that you keep moving. You might have a certain area you want to work on, but overall you want to make sure that you just keep moving, because if you stay in one spot, you could put a divot into your blank. This is what I mean when the mini bolt actions are so small. You really have to kind of get creative a little bit. Even though it is small, I am still moving. Okay. Now if we look at this, these do look pretty good. So I'm going to sand again with the grain, with the lathe off, just to change those scratch marks. Instead of being circular, they're going to they're going to turn out being horizontal instead of circular, and that just allows for a better finish. Now that I did the Zen, I'm moving to the mini bolt. And now we can move on. So that was 120. Now we're going to be at 180. And this is just wash, rinse, and repeat. I'm going to sand these blanks with the lathe in reverse, running just under 500 RPMs. Once both blanks get sanded, I'll turn the lathe off, and then I'll sand with the grain to change the scratch pattern. And that's with the lathe off. This is the repetition of pen turning, and it can get tedious, but if you don't get this part right, you might have to redo it, which is what happened last time. I didn't get it right, so I'm redoing it now. Hopefully these will be much better looking pens when this live stream is over. That's the goal anyway. Now we've got 240. Sand with the grain. Zen and mini bolt action. If I take some of that dust off, it's starting to look pretty decent. 320. So if you guys are pen turners, on average, how many pens do you think over your career that you've had to refinish? Especially like for me, looking back at some of my earlier work, it was the best I could do at the time. But now that I'm a little more experienced, I look at some of those earlier pieces and I decide to go back and refinish them because I know that I can do better. But I know we've had that conversation on this channel before, you know, with each turn, with each project, you should always be learning something. You should always be working to get better at something. Okay, and then 400. This is the last grit of dry sandpaper that we're going to use. I do spend a little bit more time at 400 just because that is the last grit. Now we'll move on to the mini bolt action. And one more time, we'll go with the grain. You want to make sure that you get the entire length of the blank when you sand, because if you leave the ends, it could produce an undesirable effect. There's the Zen. Now we move to the second pen. All right, and we are sanded up. Now, if I was just doing a resin only blank, I would go straight to micro mesh and work on that, on the wet sanding. Because this is a hybrid blank, I finish all my hybrid blanks with a CA finish. So I'm going to leave this at 400, and I'm going to put some denatured alcohol on here to clean the dust out of the blank. And yeah, I'm going to clean the dust with denatured alcohol. I'll let it spin for a little bit just so it dries, and then we'll be ready for a CA finish. Put the towel down just so we don't get too much moisture on the lathe. Putting denatured alcohol on the blanks also allows you to kind of see what it's going to look like once it's actually finished. All right. Now that I'll go ahead and put just a little bit more denatured alcohol on the blanks with the lathe on, just so we know it's going to be good and clean. I'm going to let this spin for just a little bit. The denatured alcohol does evaporate pretty quickly, so it really doesn't take that much time. Okay. I'm going to check this. Okay, let's check the comments, chat. I like the jaws in the disassembly steps. Yeah, that was that's a new one to me. I know other companies have their brands, and I'm sure they work just fine. This is just what I have, so it's what I used. And using that for the first time, literally right now, was actually I actually really liked that. So while the overall goal is to not have to use them, they are really nice when they are needed. It looked like he had a nice grip without using the harsh tool. Yeah, that was the really nice part. A couple times it did slip, but after I kind of learned to hold, how to hold that tool, it was very easy. Jaws is a movie about dinosaurs or something, right? Yeah, Barry, close enough. Looks like the tool I used to pull arrows out of trees when I missed the target. Well, don't miss the target. Easy enough. Movie about a man with his finger stuck in a vise. That's funny. Hopefully you don't miss too often or by too much. Yeah. Yeah. Don't miss too often. I'm getting more accurate. Again, that's the learning aspect. You're practicing, you're learning, you're getting better at you're getting better at your craft, you're getting better at a skill. That's exactly what I've been talking about. Hey Ray, what's up? I try hard not to miss on the finish. Yeah, pen finishing is, especially with a CA finish, it took me a long time to get it under control. Dave's, does putting the lathe in reverse really make a difference when sanding? Especially with wood, yes, because what it does is it stands up the fibers the other way, so the sandpaper can smooth it out. With resin blanks, because there's not necessarily it's not exactly a grain, I don't know that it makes as much difference, but if you're doing true wood turning, that's where it comes in really, that's where it's really beneficial. Todd says he's refinished 10 out of about 400 or 500. That's not terrible. Alternate forward and reverses, I think it sands the wood fibers back up and helps the paper cut. Yep. I've learned to take my time sanding with each grit, also wiping the blank down after each blank. Yeah, that's what it is. Dave, I think I had to refinish about 5 pens of I don't know how many I have done. Fair enough. Sometimes take 1 hour to finish one pen because I don't want to refinish. That's not terrible because honestly, in any wood turning, woodworking, any project that requires some sort of finish, I always end up getting tired, so I end up sometimes rushing the finish, and I've really made a concerted effort to make that not happen. Ray, that's good that you're doing well. Things are good over here. I'm a little exhausted because we ended up going on a 57-mile bike ride today, so I'm a little tired, but honestly, I'm good. Dave's Creations, where do you get the jaws? That was nice. The jaws come from tshadow.com. The link is in the description of the video if you're interested. The link will take you to the main website, and you can search for them from there. All right. These blanks are more than sufficiently dry, so we are going to go ahead and put a CA finish on these blanks. I'm going to rip a couple strips of towel. Well, I shouldn't say towel. I should say blue shop cloth. And then we will be ready to put our CA finish on these blanks. And these should look pretty good. All right. All right. Here we go. Got my activator here. Got my. Let me get the CA glue. Shouldn't be too terrible. Sometimes my lid for my CA glue sticks, and I need to give it a little persuasion, which isn't the end of the world. There we go. It's probably a sign that I need to break into the new bottle. I've got a brand new bottle of Thin Flex CA, but I'll eventually get there. I'll eventually use it. All right. So when I do a CA finish, I turn the lathe all the way down. So I'm going to adjust the belt here. We're going to move it one step up. Put the tension back on the belt. We're turned all the way down for speed. We're in forward, so we are ready to roll. I like to fold my blue shop cloth in half, hot dog style. We'll put a dab of CA glue on here. We're going to do 7 coats spraying activator in between each. So there's 1 coat. An activator. So we're just going to do that 7 times. So that was 1, so we have 6 more to go. Here's 2. With CA glue, with the CA finish, you really want to make sure that you don't stay in one spot, because if that sticks, bad news bears. So that was 2. Here's 3. 4. You really don't need that much activator, but it won't hurt anything. There's 5. Two more coats. 6. And when you're doing your CA finish, you also want to make sure that you wipe all the way across the blank to get it covered nice and well, nice and good. Here's the 7th and final coat. Okay. Spray some activator. Close up this CA bottle. Let's take a look. Oh, this is much better. Much, much, much better. I'll definitely be sure to get you guys a closer look once we go to assemble this. So now that we have the CA finish applied, I'm going to put my CA glue and my activator away. I'm going to get the micro mesh out. There are 9 micro mesh pads that we're going to use tonight. Starts at 1,500 grit and runs up to 12,000. I will be micro meshing around 12 to 1,400, give or take. Turn this up a bit. The nice thing with this Rikon lathe is that there's a digital readout, so I can get an idea of how fast I'm going. All right, let's check the chat. Yeah, Ray. The jaws are a T-Shadow product. There are other companies that have their own contraptions, but this is just the one I have. First impressions, because this is the first time that I looked at it, or this is the first time that I used it, which was tonight. First impressions are that it's solid. It's a good tool. It's one of those tools that you hope you never have to use, but when you do have it, it is really, really handy. Yeah, Dave, with the video about activators and how it turns things yellow and how bad it is for CA glue, I use Mercury Flex Thin. The Flex was actually formulated a little bit differently. I don't know the exact science behind it, but this is what I use, and I've had good luck with it so far. The pens that I did here, the reason I'm refinishing them is because there was a different brand of CA glue on there that ultimately failed. So I'm trying to get those finished. And that's the thing with, I might use one brand, I might use activator. Somebody else might use a different brand without activator. At the end of the day, if it works for you in your shop and it is safe, then go with that. You know, just because I do it one way does not mean it is the be all end all. And Mercury Flex is also available at T-Shadow. I know this is a very T-Shadow heavy night, but you know, sometimes that's just how it goes. Okay, have a good one, Todd. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right, let's put some. Let's get this thing micro meshed. With a CA finish, I don't micro mesh very long. I just spend probably 10 to 20 seconds per blank, and I always keep moving. And especially with this mini bolt action, I like to use the corner of the micro mesh pad because it gets, I believe it covers the blank a little better, in my opinion. I also don't want to put too much pressure on these, because if you put too much pressure with the micro mesh pads, what ends up happening is you sand through your finish and then you have to start over again. Well, if this is the refinishing process, I don't want to start over a third time. I'm moving through these pretty quickly. Two more micro mesh pads and we'll be ready to move on. Now I'm going to take a small piece of paper towel, not paper towel, blue shop cloth, and I'm just going to dry these blanks of any moisture because we just got done micro meshing. And now these blanks will be ready for Novus. So Novus 3, Novus 2, and Novus 1 is a polishing system. 3 is a fine scratch remover. 3 is a heavy scratch remover. 2 is a fine scratch remover, and 1 is the polish. So we'll go ahead and bring those over now. I've got these 3 bottles here. I also have a few pieces of blue shop cloth. We'll tear a couple more just to make sure that we have more than enough. And if I look at these blanks right now, they are looking much better than when they started. Does anyone put their CA in the fridge? If so, why? I haven't put mine in the fridge. I think there are people who do. It might have something to do with a cure temperature, but I'm not entirely sure. Does T-Shadow sell the smocks? They do, and if I remember correctly, when I talked to Bob, who is the owner at T-Shadow, I believe he said that the smocks would be on their website in the next few days. So I don't think they're up there yet, but he will have them available to go pretty soon. By several bottles of time, you use it to leave in the house before I take it to the shop. That's just me worrying about condensation. Fair enough. Highly recommend getting a smock. Yeah, I honestly, I just haven't pulled the trigger until now, and I can definitely see getting a ton of use out of this. Okay. Awesome. All right. So now that we have this, I'm going to go ahead and we will put the Novus on. We will put the Novus on. Now, I know that my Novus, sometimes it gets a little gummy. So like Novus 2, I know that like I can see right there that it's going to be clogged. So what I do is I just untwist the bottle, untwist the cap, make sure I don't knock it over. I push out the tip, and then I just take a toothpick and I push out the debris that is blocking the I just push out the debris that's making it so that it's unusable, and that should be good to go. I think my Novus 3 is okay. Sometimes I have to clear that one out as well, but I'm still going to be applying Novus at about 1400 RPMs. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to put a little bit on the blue shop cloth, and I'm just going to cover both blanks, and I'm just going to work it in for a short time. Probably used a little too much on the bolt action, on the mini bolt. And once it seems to be worked in sufficiently, I go ahead and use a clean piece of the cloth and I just buff out whatever's on there. Clean piece, move across the blank, and buff out whatever's on there. So now I can move to Novus 2, and Novus 2 is going to be applied the same exact way. So we have a dab of Novus on our mini bolt action, and now we have it on the Zen, and I'm just going to work in the Novus 2, which is the fine scratch remover, until it appears to be kind of worked in. Again, you want to make sure that you get the entire blank. So we will turn to a clean piece of the blue shop towel and buff off whatever's still on the surface. Same thing with the Zen. Clean section of shop cloth. Buff out whatever's still on the surface. Now we can move to Novus 1. That's our polish, so I'm just going to spray a little bit on the actual shop cloth. And this is just going to be a polish. So I just move the polish over the blank a couple times just to give it a little extra shine. Nothing too crazy. Now I can put this one away. I like to take one more piece of blue shop cloth and clean the blanks of any moisture, if there is any. Sometimes it looks like it's almost nothing, but you just want to make sure. And now these blanks are ready to be assembled. Okay. Thanks, Dave, for checking out tonight's live stream. Hopefully we'll see you next week. If you got a chance later, PM me on some paste that I use. I have one that's 140,000. I'll have to get with you, Ray. All right, now we're ready to take these blanks off the lathe because it's assembly time. Sometimes your non-stick bushings, you might have a little CA here. Those just twist off. Maybe. Well, this one got on there pretty good. I'll have to check that one. All right, we'll take the others off. That one popped right off. Okay. Let's see. All right. So now I'm going to take these over to the assembly table. go. Sometimes you just need a little persuasion. All right, so now I've got my 2 blanks here. Now I'm going to move you guys over to the assembly table, so just bear with me for a quick minute here. Hopefully it doesn't make you too seasick. Someday when I get super fancy, I'll get multiple cameras and all that fun jazz, and I won't have to do this. But for now, this is the kind of fun we get. All right, let me adjust this just a little bit. You can see I have a bunch of blanks and such that I still need to cut up. All right, so let's go ahead and assemble the mini bolt action first. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you might be able to see there is a lip of CA on there. So I'm just going to take a piece of sandpaper and I'm just going to flatten it out very carefully. Until it's flush with the brass tube. There's quite a bit on there. Almost. I know some people use their sanding jigs to touch up the fingernail that's on there. I haven't gotten that brave yet. We're almost there. All right. So now we're going to assemble this mini bolt action. Now I don't know that it really matters which way it is. So I'm going to lay out my pieces this way so they're ready to be assembled. Now, before I even assemble anything, I'm going to flip this bolt around. I'm going to take a small screwdriver. There's a set screw in here that I'm just going to barely loosen. And then I'm going to flip this. I'm going to flip the bolt around. We need to give it another turn or two. Okay, with that being turned around, I also need to move the clip. So I'm rotating the clip to the other side. Okay, so this guy is ready to go, so I can tighten the set screw back down. Okay, now I just need to there's a piece there. this tightens down like that. Sorry if I was out of the frame, guys. All right, so now we can assemble this. I think I want my clip about right here in the middle of the resin. So we are going to assemble that. Let's go one more. Okay. When you're assembling pens, slow and steady really is the name of the game there, because if you mess it up at this point, that's kind of a bummer. Now we're going to press this end into this piece into the other end. Doesn't really matter what orientation this one's in. Even these mini bolts are longer than I realize. They take up a good bit of space on the pen press. This just doesn't want to cooperate tonight. There we go. Okay. Now we can drop the refill in with the spring. Make sure you hold on to the nib because the spring is somewhat loaded at this point. We can twist that on and we have a much better looking mini bolt action pen. Now we can move to the Zen. We're done with our screwdriver here. The Zen is super simple to assemble. Again, we have a little bit of a fingernail of CA glue there, so we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to take that down with some sandpaper. There wasn't nearly the amount of CA on that one. Now with this one, let's make this the now this is our cap end. This is our nib end. So these get pressed in, and those are the only two presses that we actually need for this. So I'm going to press this front end in first. Get it started here. There we go. There we go. That front end is pressed in, like so. Now we just need to press in the back end. We'll adjust one more time. Because there are no clips for this one, or at least no clips that'll hide any part of the blank, it doesn't really matter the direction you press these in, because it all just goes around. Now we have our, sorry guys, we have our spring that drops into the back of our blank. I already had my refill in there from when this pen was already in use. That screws in there like that. This is a magnetic cap, so it just goes on like that. And this is our refinished Zen. And let me tell you what, this compared to where they were at the beginning of this show is night and day. There's the mini bolt action. Pretty cool stuff. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight on this one. It was quite a bit of fun. Got a little bit of a slow start, but that's okay. We will be back next Tuesday. At least that's the plan. And then, so if you guys have anything, we can continue the conversation. Otherwise, I do have I have Patreon. If you guys are interested. Last week, the super chat was brought up. You can't super chat because I don't have monetization enabled, but on my website, cross-cut-creations.com, there is an option for a one-time donation if that is something that you're interested in. If not, no big deal. The other way to support the Crosscut Creations shop without spending any extra money is to use any of the Amazon affiliate links on either in the description of this video or on my website. That costs you absolutely nothing extra. But other than that, have a great night. Thanks, Ray. Have a good one. Thanks, Jim. We'll see you guys next week.